Hello and welcome to Sheila Lives Out Loud. My name is Sheila Muga. Thank you for joining me on my channel. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do and hit notifications. We try and share episodes, new ones every Monday, and I'd love for you to be a part of our journey as we live, as we love, as we grow. In today's episode is one of my all-time favorite women. You know, there's so many unsung heroes in this nation, and we need to start giving flowers where flowers are due. And this woman deserves not just flowers, she needs the whole bouquet. She needs the whole flower farm. Makena Mugaa. Hello, lovely lady. How are you?
Hi, Sheila. How are you?
I'm excited. Finally, here we are. We get an opportunity to catch up. I am so amazed by the work that you do, and I'm so thoroughly in awe as well. Now, before we jump into this incredible foundation that you have founded, and you have changed the lives of so many women across Kenya, I'd like us to go back to the beginning. For anyone who's just catching up and thinking, so who's this woman that Sheila thinks needs flowers and a flower farm? Who is Makena Mugaa?
Ruth Makena Mugaa is an advocate of the High Court of Kenya and the founder of Gigantomastia Foundation. And I am also a survivor of Gigantomastia. And I celebrate, actually this year I celebrated 10 years Gigantomastia free.
Wow.
Yes.
Gigantomastia is a huge word. Even just getting somebody to spell it top of the hat like this might be a challenge, but help us unpack what it is. What is gigantomastia?
Gigantomastia is a rare breast condition that affects the breast connective tissues and attributes to 3% of your body weight.
You know, I'm just looking at those statistics and I'm thinking to myself, 3% of body weight is right here on the chest. As women, we have been taught and conditioned that the sign of femininity, you know, when you think about when you were younger, growing up and you start growing breasts, it was a transition, a rite of passage, and you'd say, I'm no longer a girl now, I'm a woman now. And for a lot of women it was, yay, I've got breasts. And for others it was, when will my breasts come? Then there are others where the breast just never stops growing. So this transition into womanhood suddenly becomes the beginning of a nightmare. Why is it? Is there any scientific understanding and research to understand this condition?
Most medics largely said that this is a hormonal issue, and that it really attacks the breast in that it makes your breast grow abnormally big. They are excessively big, you know? I mean, Sheila, when something is supposed to define you as a woman, becomes a consistent nightmare, you know? It's very heartbreaking, okay? So from the little research and what I have read and what most of the medics really light on is like, it could be hormonal and it could also lie entirely on genes. Because you could find a lineage of all the women in a family that have these excessively big breasts.
You suffered from this condition, and I'd like you to go back because it's not an easy thing to go back to a nightmare phase in life. Nobody wants to remember the bad times and the things that make you feel really bad about yourself. But let's talk about your journey. When did you know that you were in trouble?
I could say growing up, I was just a normal, bubbly, casual girl. I'm sure Sheila, we've interacted for quite some time now. And I just grew up knowing, you see, when you sit in a class, you're like, what defines a woman? Your hips broaden, you know, you get your menses, your breasts start growing. So I mean, for me, like in primary, I could see like I'm fuller than the rest of the girls in my class. I was like, oh well, I think that I'm living up to the word of I should be having breasts. So I went on to high school and my breasts continued growing very gradually. And I could still feel that I am bigger and fuller than my peer mates. Fast forward to campus, that is when I was like, hey, wait a minute, what's going on? Because my bust kept on growing and growing and growing excessively. And needless to say, I had recurrent shoulder dislocations. You can imagine your shoulder is just popping off your socket.
And that was because of the weight of the breasts?
Yes. And no medic could point out that my breast is what is making my shoulder pop. So I had my first surgery done when I was in Form 2 in 2002. And my shoulder was fixed and life went on. Then 10 years later, when I was in campus, I remember I was actually pointing, I was showing somebody, yeah, go to that lecture hall and my shoulder just popped, Sheila.
Yeah.
I went back to my orthopedic and he was like, we need to go back to theater and fix your shoulder. Mm-hmm. So when I went back to theater in 2010, December, he actually now had an aha moment like, hey, these breasts are excessively large. And that is what is making your shoulder keep on dislocating. And after that is when he referred me to a plastic surgeon in Aga Khan, Professor Stanley Hainga. Mm. And I had to have the surgeries done recurrently because there was no point of having the shoulder being fixed and the breasts are still pulling. The weight is still pulling my shoulder. So I'll still be going to square zero.
Yeah.
So I walked into Professor's clinic and he was very welcoming. He was very warm. And I'll never forget the fact that when I walked into the office, he chuckled. He was like, so you're the young girl dislocating shoulders because of a big of a large bust or big breast.
Yeah.
And I was like, is that a good thing or a bad thing? Because why are you laughing about it? That it even got me off guard. Like, okay, right. Oh well, tell me what needs to be done. So when he made a diagnosis, is when he diagnosed me with gigantomastia. And that was January of 2011. So I was admitted in hospital in February and I had my surgery successfully done at the Nairobi South Hospital and I had a total of 7.3 kilos removed off my chest.
7.3 kilos.
Yes.
You know, somebody could be watching and they'd be thinking, okay, was it, 7.3? I'm just listening to 7.3 and I'm thinking, girl, no wonder your shoulders were dislocating constantly. Yes. Because that is a lot of weight to carry on your upper body. I'm sure your back was a mess as well.
Actually, I think the shoulder had taken a toll on me. Like, I think, Sheila, I didn't even have time to think about my back or anything because my center of attraction was like shoulder. If I could turn when I'm asleep, shoulder, Yeah. But now when Doc spoke about it, I could relate. That the reason why I could get some lower back pains, You're trying to sleep and you feel your back is like, oh my God.
Right now, I want to talk about this condition because it doesn't just affect women only. I have seen men, and I'm already thinking as a woman, how your self-esteem is pegged a lot on how people perceive you to be. There's certain things and perceptions that people carry when you see someone with a big bust. There's certain things which show up to the perception that shouldn't be there. We will unpack those as well. But for a man, that is even worse, I believe. Have you walked with men? Have you interacted with men who are suffering from gigantomastia?
Yes, I have interacted with several men who have suffered from gynecomastia. In men, it takes another angle. It's called gynecomastia. I mean, Sheila, you know men are self-driven. They have ego. Yeah. Men are driven with ego. So you can imagine a man who has boobs. What does that do to a man's mind? It totally breaks them, Yeah. And men are channeled to be strong, as that I have to be strong, but once a man walks into your office and they're like, Mckenna, how can you assist me get these things off my chest? I cannot swim. I can't dress in an appropriate shirt. You find it so hot, like Sheila, like today is such a bright day. This guy is in a jacket. He can't remove it. He's been mocked. When he mwanamke, now why do you have boobs? It really takes a toll on men. Like I can say there's a 13-year-old who I had the pleasure of walking the journey with him from Matatu. Yeah. And his story really moved me. Like when he's in a class and you see young boys, how they are, he can't even remove his sweater. Even in the afternoon, he can't remove his sweater because he's so ashamed of what is going on around his chest area. So this man can get help. And more often than not, you'll hear people calling them moobs. Men boobs, moobs. That is actually a condition called gynecomastia, which is also rectified surgically.
Right, and it's happening in Kenya today. We're going to talk about
it is happening in Kenya with extremely, extremely good results.
Did people make fun of you? Did you feel a certain type of way about having large breasts?
Yes, I would say yes, I did, because Sheila, when you're growing up with peers, and here you are, girls are dressed in their element. You know, they're in such lovely dresses, such lovely tops, and you're just there, okay, hey, Mckenna is just the t-shirt and jeans girl, you know, because I'd constantly be in a t-shirt and jeans. And when you'd wear a top, you would attract attention to an extent. You're like, okay, do I look like a cat that has come with a rat in the house? I mean, why are you looking at me like that? You know, all the unwanted, unsolicited stares. I mean, Sheila, somebody would be talking to you, but they're not looking at your face. They're just looking at your bust.
Chest. The conversation
your
is
chest,
right
like
here.
the
And
conversation is like, hey, so Mckenna, how was the lecture? Like, hello,
look up.
here I am. You know,
here.
It makes, and to an extent, you'd find people calling you Frisian. I remember my nickname throughout was a Frisian.
No.
And you know, a Frisian is associated with the cow with the biggest teeth that you can ever fathom, right?
It's crazy. And the words for, yes. I mean, the Matucanos are insane.
Yes. And needless to say, I would say that I had to develop a very strong defense mechanism. Because at the end of the day, you would come and talk to me, and probably you just want to have a conversation with me, but I already have this notion that you want to talk to me because of my boobs, or you're all about asking me, why are your boobs like that?
Yeah.
So I could say I became a very big bully, Sheila. So
it was either me, that or you get bullied. It was one of two things that was
it was one of the two, but knowing me and my personality, I had to be the bigger one for myself, you know? So I remember even there's this chick who came, she asked me, hey, so Mckenna, now, you know, people are saying you've aborted children, you know, you're sleeping around with men. And I remember the answer I gave her that day. I told her, go back to those people who are talking to you and telling you those things to show me the men that I have been sleeping with, and to show me the clinics I've been going to do these things you're talking about. You can imagine, Sheila, you're just minding your own business and like, but the way they talk in school, they talk in the corridors is that, you know, Mckenna has those big breasts because she had an abortion. Can you hear the stereotypes that come and the stigma that gigantomastia has?
Yes, yes. Because again, the transition into womanhood is a celebration. But then suddenly certain things begin to happen and they're way out of your control. And for society that doesn't understand, then that's really how stigma works. You come up with a narrative to try and explain why it's happening that way to somebody. Now, I'm just imagine a child who has no idea what gigantomastia is, and maybe she's living up country, or maybe her religion is very strict, and suddenly these whisperings begin. That can take a toll on not just your self-esteem, but your mental health.
Exactly, because I can reiterate and say I have dealt with these young girls, as I said, like 13-year-olds to 12-year-olds. And there's this one girl who I met, and she was from Kiambu. The girl had really excelled from her primary school, and she had gotten good marks. But what is stopping this girl from going to the next level of her life? The size of her breasts. So I made way and I went to where she lives. First, her living conditions, the standards as to where she's coming from. And when I saw Kate, because she's called Kate, and I was like, what the hell is this, Sheila? What you can't even describe. This is such a young child with breasts close to her knees. And when she continued narrating her story, she went like, you know, I even had to sit my exam on my knees because she could not fit on her desk. On further examination, you can see that she had developed a lot of wounds on her breasts because of lack of proper blood supply. That is a 13-year-old in Kiambu. In places like Kilifi, I met a girl. You could not convince her that she has not bewitched. The beliefs and the stereotypes.
Yeah, I get it. I completely understand it. Stigma, beliefs, a lack of understanding, and it's just layman's ways of trying to make things make sense. Yet this is science, it is a condition, it can be addressed. And I think for me, as somebody who's just come to know this condition recently, you're my pioneer. You're the one who helps me understand. You're the one I ask all these questions to. And you're the one I see trailblazing in this particular field in Kenya today. Going back to your recovery, 7.5 kgs gone. Let's talk about the recovery process.
So my journey to recovery, I could say, Sheila, it was not as bad and it was not as good, but I thank God for the support my parents gave me and the people who understood what I was going through. But in less than 4 weeks, I was okay. By the second week, I was back in law school because I had my surgery when I was still in law school. And which takes me back, when we talk about people being identified with certain parts of their bodies,
yeah,
I missed school for 2 weeks. And by the time I'm coming back, there's this lecturer, now he's there in class and he's having this conversation and he's lecturing. So all of a sudden, it's like he's looking around. So I wondered, where is this guy? So he picks the rota and he's like, is Ruth Mckenna in this class? And here I am, yes.
I'm here, present.
I'm here. So you could see this is somebody probably in his mind, his identity was not my face per se, but my bust.
It takes a lot to adjust. It's a process getting to that place where you're known as the girl with boobs. It's a process to get there and to know in your head that, yes, this is the girl of boobs. And then it's also yet another psychological adjustment to be the girl who is normal. Again, the girl who has normal boobs. It takes a lot of adjusting here.
Exactly. Now, because I've interacted with a lot of girls and a lot of women who have had gigantomastia. And this is a scenario whereby this is a girl with extremely huge breasts. Mm-hmm. Starting from your own house, Sheila, from your wardrobe. Here we are. She's in her bedroom. She's trying to look for a bra that will fit into her breasts. Okay? You can imagine, I've worn the first layer of bra, and now this is not enough. I have to support them with another layer. Okay? You've dressed up, you've looked yourself, you have had several meetings with yourself before you step out of your house, right? The next thing is that I have to get into a matatu. And you know how people can talk.
In a matatu, there's no whispering. Whatever is said in the front is heard in the back.
Thank you. So somebody is walking, you're just walking, and you know, the comments, haya, angalia huyu na hizi matiti, haya, KCC amepita, haya. You can imagine by the time that chick is sitting in the matatu, okay, first give me slack or give me the credit that I have even gathered the courage to walk out of my house and come to go run my errands or whatever I have to do.
I'm not society at home, but when I come out, here you are with me.
Thank you. Yes, we are here. It's like all your timing. When is she going to leave the house? And trust you, Sheila, I think the people who devote their days to do such things to people, you know?
Oh, yes.
Probably because of the lack of education that this chick probably is sick.
Yeah.
Okay, Sheila, fast forward. This girl is seated in the matatu. The makanga is like, songesha hizo matiti, ama ulipia vitimbili. Can you imagine? Those are life experiences that I have had from people firsthand. Okay, let's go, Sheila. We are going with the matatu. Thank God for all the potholes we have, Sheila.
Oh, boy.
And you find such a malicious driver who cannot avoid even one pothole. This is a woman just being juggled up. You're just being juggled up in the matatu. Will you hold your breasts? Will you know, Sheila,
you hold your breath, you hold your handbag. What are you going to? It is a mess. An absolute mess, and there's no compassion.
Yes. Then there's this tier of hawkers, Sheila. Women, we go through a lot. You walk into Woolies. Unfortunately, we don't stock this in your size. You go to another shop. We are not stocking. Okay. Maybe people don't even have the pleasure of logging into Marks and Spencer and getting a good bra. So what is your next solace?
You have to go to Gigantomastia.
We have to go to second. We have to go to Kikomba or Mutumba. And you know the way these men are. So there's this patient who also came to me. She was like, immediately she approached the hawker. She was told, hii kifua hatuna hapa. You can imagine. Hii kifua hatuna hapa. Hii yako hakuna. And if you get this bra, it will not be sold like if the hawker was selling the rest for 50, yours will be 1,000. But do you have a choice, Sheila? No. Should it be that way?
Again, compassion, understanding, and demystifying and debunking and talking about, hey, there's a problem. We have a problem. And there's a solution. How do we become part of the solution? And that's why it's so important we have this conversation together, because it breaks down women and men not just physically, but mentally as well. So, Mckenna, looking at your journey, before we talk about how we become part of the solution, let's go back to your recovery, to reconciling that, okay, these are no longer your hindrances. You are free to have a normal life. How did that feel?
It felt good, Sheila. It felt good because here's a scenario now. I'm in school, yes, and I'm in that blouse that I can button, Sheila, from top to bottom, you know? It gives you a whole outlook of life, you know? Like, so this is how other people feel with a normal bust size, you know? You start living your purpose. You start living your life to the fullest. I mean, I could not run. Here I am on the treadmill. You can't get me out of it, you know? I'm running to get to a Matatu. Nobody is looking at my things juggling up and down, you know? My recovery journey, as I said, Sheila, it was not easy and it was also easy, you know? I can't really put a tear to it. Everybody's journey is different. There are others, even after surgery, Sheila, they cry because they can't believe that this thing can actually happen. Everybody's journey is different. There's a patient who told me she even had to cut off her dreads. She had dreads. She had to cut them off because it was a new beginning for her. Mm-hmm. And I'd also say for me, it was also a new beginning, you know?
Right.
You have to pull down those walls of defense mechanism. You don't have to defend yourself anymore, you know? But at the end of the day, it is a journey. Mm-hmm. Sometimes you find you want to defend yourself and you're like, oh, what am I defending myself against? I don't have these things anymore. And nobody's asking me those funny questions anymore. So everybody's journey is different. And as you say, as you ask me about my journey, I came to the realization that there's so many women, there's so many girls, and there's so many men suffering in silence. Who do they turn to?
Right.
Where is this voice to talk about gigantomastia? You can say probably like when I was getting mine done, Sheila, the only person I knew had done it was Queen Latifah. So was I going to inbox her and she'd be like, who's this? Mm-hmm. So I had to take the leap of faith. So unlike now, there's so many people who've done it, and there are others, Sheila, who do it and keep it to themselves.
Yeah.
So I took it upon myself that I have had this done. Let me make noise. Let me talk about it. Those who can get help, let them get help. Those ones who probably can get the knowledge and get this assistance from another place, it is well and good. But at the end of the day, I have made an impact in talking about it.
Speaking about talking about it, I'm sure in coming to this decision, because you are a trained lawyer, you've chosen the path of representing a cause that is mostly dealt with in silence. But you've said, no, I'm going to help people know this information. I'm going to work with women who have decided that they're going to change their lives. I'd like us to talk about, speaking to your family and letting them know that, Mom, Dad, guess what? This is what I'm going to do. If my life changed, I know I'm supposed to change other people's lives. How did your family take it when you said, this is my calling now?
Mckenna answers this question in the second part of this episode next week, Monday. Until then, please drop us a comment in the comment section below. And if you know somebody who needs help from the Gigantomastia Foundation, please get in touch with Mckenna via her contacts in the description below. Until then, please click subscribe and hit notifications and live out loud in all that you do.